Welcome to A View from the Summit, where we explore the unique relationships between animals and humans, whether it's an Olympic partner or couch buddy, a working companion or unique pet, a world champion or someone you think the world of. Join us for a look at animals in our lives. Brought to you by Summit Animal Health. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of A View from the Summit. I'm Steve Searcy, your co-host, and have we got a show for you today? You know, we're going to take a bite out of crime. Now, that may, you may know too much already, but just wait. But before we get to that, I get to introduce my co-host, who's way up there in northern Minnesota. Every day for her is home on the range. It's just spectacular. Robin Benson, how the heck are you?
Hey, Steve, I'm great. It's been quite a wild winter for us so far, much warmer than normal. We have mud today, which is unheard of in the end of December, but that's okay. We're rolling with it. We do run a working cattle ranch. My husband, daughter, and I, we work the cattle horseback. So we love animals of all kinds. And that's one of the reasons this show is so near and dear to my heart, is exploring the connections of animals and their humans. And I say it that way on purpose because, animals are our world. And I'm really excited today because you all are in for a treat. This is a different angle on an animal-human relationship that is going to blow you away. Madison is an amazing human, and her dogs are amazing too. So, Steve, tell us a little bit.
Madison Sperry is a canine officer. Oh, and we've got somebody popping their head up there. The canine officer in the Houston area, and she actually goes to work every day with her dog. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So who do we have? We have Quelle
and
Lamont.
No, so I have three in total. So this is Quelle. The one to her left is Saba. He's just a pet. Lamont is actually outside right now. He's not very nice, so he doesn't get to be around these two.
Oh, he's not nice to your other two dogs?
No, yeah, he's very dog aggressive.
Really? And which one do you take to work with you?
So I take him on the street with me. So when I go patrol the streets of Houston, Lamont is who I take. When I go and do anything media related, public relations, community events, I take Quelle.
Okay. And so how did it happen that your companion at work ended up having four legs and not two?
So, it's kind of a funny story. So I went to Texas A&M. At the time I was working for Schiller Ranch, which is a horse ranch in College Station. I had horses. I barrel raced. I mean, that's all I did. While I was there, Christy Schiller had started the nonprofit Canines for Cops. So it's a nonprofit that purchases police canines. They raise money and purchase police canines for departments in need because each of these dogs cost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. So it's a huge expense for a department. So Christy started that. And so I was at the ranch. I was doing the horse thing. Living the life, but I was also starting to be around these law enforcement officers and their canines, and I just fell in love with it. Christy actually had a personal protection dog of her own named Daisy, and I would kind of steal her, and go take her around the ranch and, just take her and, do whatever. And so Christy saw that I was developing a love for it. And so when I graduated from A&M in 2014, Christy actually purchased Quelle for me. She was purchased as a personal protection dog. She was imported from Europe. And I fell in love with it. So I was working on a ranch. I'm sure Robin knows it's not 9 to 5, but I'm gonna just say, so I was working my 9 to 5 in College Station, and then I would take Quelle and I would drive an hour and a half to Houston to go train with Jazz and Jason of Houston Canine Academy, with Chris Moore with the sheriff's office, all of these people who have a lot of canine training experience and they, have a lot of dog experience. And so I was taking Quella to go train with them. And so I was being exposed to the law enforcement side of it, and I just started to fall in love with it. And so in the end of 2015, I decided that I was going to pursue a career in law enforcement. My degree was in agriculture business, so I decided, I was like, you know what, I want to do canine. And so Quella had started doing a lot of the media for Canines for Cops, just because she could demonstrate what our police dogs do, but she was very, very social. So the kids could pet her, so while I was doing this, prior to going to the academy, I was already developing relationships with all of the law enforcement agencies in the area because they all, work closely together with Canines for Cops. And so then when I decided to go to the academy, I went in January of 2016 and then graduated in May and then got hired on with Harris County Precinct 1. I did get canine Le Mans very, very quickly, faster than I think it has ever happened in the history of getting canine, which I'm very, very fortunate for. But at the same time, my boss, Constable Rosen, saw how big of an asset Quella was. When I did get canine Le Mans, I was the first female canine handler in Harris County in over 15 years. And just so y'all know, Harris County is the fourth largest county in the nation. So there had not been a female handler employed by a Harris County agency in over 15 years. It was garnering a lot of media attention. And so Le Mans, we quickly realized, was not going to do the public demo stuff very well. Naturally so. He just is not very nice. He's very, very good at his job, but he's not very nice. So we used Quella in that role. And so even still to this day, she's maintained that role since 2016. Of going to any community event, any school, anything that involves people and they want a dog there, Quella has been my sidekick for. So I'm very, very fortunate that, I get to take her to those events and then I get to take Le Mans on the street. So I'm getting the best of both worlds, which is unheard of. I don't know of any other handler, personally or on social media that has access to two dogs like this and gets to do what I do. So I'm very, very fortunate and very thankful for it.
Do you have the same relationship with Le Mans that you do with Quella? The heart relationship?
Yes, I would say I do. So, I'm with Le Mans. He's in the back of my car riding around. He's, posted up here with his head on my shoulder, looking around. Okay, what are we going to do? So I'm spending 40 hours a week in a car just with him. And then, we bring them home. So our routine is, I do work night shifts. So I work 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I get home. He goes outside for just a little bit. He then goes in his kennel, which I keep him inside. He's got his own room in my house, feed him. We then both go to sleep for a couple hours and then we get up. I then go get him out. I put him outside. So, it's a constant rotation of dogs, because I do have to keep him separate from Quella and Theba. But yeah, I would say that I do have a very, very good relationship with him as well. I would not say that he's my princess like Quella is. Quella's like my kid. So is he, but it's a different type of relationship, I would say. Quella lives for me. I would say that. And as Le Mans, he knows his role is to protect me. So he is very, very protective of me. So I would say it's a different relationship with the two. But both very, very in depth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Do you communicate? I recently read that they've discovered that dogs focus on human faces to try to get an idea of what's going on. So does Lamont, when you're out there in the field, is he looking at you, or is he looking for danger? Is he looking for your reaction to things, or is he trying to find something that's dangerous himself?
So when I get him out of the car, he knows it's time to work. So his focus is projected out from us. So he is looking for danger. So he knows the difference if we're going to be searching for narcotics or if we're going to be searching for a suspect. There's subtle things that we do that he knows the difference. Okay, so he knows what search mode that he is in. So when we get out looking for a suspect, I mean, he's ready to rock and roll. After we do go and complete our search, whether we found the suspect or not, when we are walking back to the car and he knows everything is more relaxed, he is kind of, he is a little more goofy, and he's looking up back at me like, "Hey mom, did I do good?" Kind of the same thing in training too, like if I send him into a scenario where we're looking for a suspect, he'll go and locate the suspect, make contact with him. And then at the end of the training, when we're walking back to our car, again, he's looking up and he's got this goofy like smile on his face, like, "Hey, did I do good, mom?" And in the car, I mean, yeah, he's always looking for, that affirmation, "Hey, did I do good?" But yeah, when he gets out on the street, he's focused. So it's kind of cool that he can switch his modes.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So when you got him, he was trained for his job, right?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah.
So how long did it take you to like click where he got to know that you were his person? And because he's, as you've said, he's really good at his job, but he's not really a people person dog. Like, how did you build that relationship, and how did you get to, "Hey, you're my partner, we're in this together, buddy"? Like, how did you build that initially?
Right. So when they are imported from Europe, they have a basic foundation of bite work that has been started on them. When they're brought,
did you say bite work? Bite?
yes, yeah, bite,
Oh,
yeah.
terrific.
So a lot of the dogs that we import over from Europe, that we use as police dogs, were started as sport dogs, and over in Europe they do bite work as sport, monitoring, and it's just a lot of really cool things. But yeah, they consider it bite work, but it's for sport over there. It's kind of like our dogs doing agility over here. They do that is their sport over there. And so a lot of those dogs, after they do their little career in sport work, they then transition over here, and we use them as police dogs, because they have that foundation that we're looking for. So when Lamont was brought over, he had a basic foundation laid on him. Houston Canine, Jazz and Jason, they are the trainers that we use here in Houston. They go over to Europe, they select the dogs, they bring them over, they evaluate them. So at that point in time, Lamont is not bonded to any handler, if that makes sense. He's still
Sure.
a very green dog, similar to like a green horse. So when a handler is selecting the dog, Jazz and Jason will give us, or whatever vendor it may be, they will give you, "Hey, here's 5 or 6 dogs to select from that we feel that would suit you as a handler." So you kind of test out these dogs. Lamont just had, kind of the size, the look, the personality, the drive, the work ethic that I was looking for. And so once I took him home, the bonding process started. So, you do spend a lot of time just initially bonding with these dogs, because like I said, they're not bonded to anybody yet. So he doesn't know who his person is yet. And so you spend the time to develop that relationship with them. And then once you are bonded, you go through a basic, an initial 12-week course for patrol and narcotics, getting the dog used to and trained on what your specific needs for your department are. So, like I needed him to do vehicle extractions. I needed him to do a building search, to track through the woods, to sniff a vehicle for narcotics, that kind of thing. So we spend the initial 12 weeks training them. And so during that time, yeah, your bond really develops during that time. And so at that point they know, okay, this is my person. This this is my mom or this is my dad. And, they do become very protective of you. Le Mans is a little more protective than some of the other dogs. There are some police dogs that are very, very social. They can do their job, and then, somebody else can walk up to them and pet them. Le Mans never took to that aspect, even though it's funny, his full brother from the same litter works in the city over, and he's the nicest dog. Anybody can go. I mean, his handler can hand him off to another handler and go work him. And so I got the grumpy one of the two, but it does make it a little difficult at times because he is so protective. He can be a little aggressive towards people approaching me. So we have had to kind of work around that and make it, the safest environment as possible for everybody. But when he knows he's working, he's working. But yeah, so it's a process.
Has Le Mans ever saved your life?
I wouldn't say that he saved my life, but we have been in some pretty dangerous situations, including that included a firearm.
So tell us one of those stories where he really stepped up and filled the role that he was supposed to.
So there's not one that really stands out, because like I said, there's not one where he has just, I felt that he was going to take a bullet for me, because, we don't take a dog to a gunfight, just like we don't take a knife to a gunfight, kind of deal. But there have been a few instances where, yeah, I mean, the suspect that we were trying to locate, going after on a track or a building search, we did know that they were armed. Fortunately, it worked out for us. We went home. I can't say the same for the other individual, but Le Mans was ready to play his role if needed. If that makes sense. We're not ever going to release our dogs on a suspect that we know has a gun, just because, potentially we now have a dead dog and then still a suspect with a gun. But the dogs are definitely there, hopefully as kind of a compliance factor, like, hey, just put the gun down, don't run, that kind of thing. I mean, the dog is there to assist in those roles. Me personally, I've never been put in that situation where I have had to put him, where it might have been a life or death situation. It's either the dog or me. But I do know handlers in Houston who have had to put their dogs in those situations. Fortunately, the dogs did survive. So
most bad guys, or most people really, it's not a big motivator when you have this fierce dog. I mean, it's more preemptive give up when they see this. Isn't this correct?
Correct. Yeah. When you talk to some of these felons, before the dog gets out there, they don't want to give up. But then once they realize that the dog is out there, a lot of times they do surrender, just because they know what damage a dog bite can do. So they're more willing to surrender when a dog is presented than when not.
So along these lines, I mean, you saw this at the Schiller Ranch. And you started to fall in love with it, and it's a big shift. I mean, I come from a similar background, and I lived in Texas for a long time, and I'm familiar with Christy's Ranch. But tell us a little bit. There she is, the princess. So dogs, we can fall in love with them so easily. But what was it that pulled on your heartstrings that made you fall in love with? I mean, this breed. First, tell us the breed, which is not everybody's backyard pet. And secondly, tell us what made you fall in love with it? What was so intriguing to you to shift gears from ag business and running barrel horses to being in the line of duty and law enforcement with a dog, like potentially life, really, really different scenarios.
Right. So Quelle, Le Mans, and Sabre are all Belgian Malinois. And if you are not familiar with the breed, they are very, very high strung. They require a lot of energy, a lot of attention because of the amount of energy that they have. They do not make good pets. I was fortunate when I did get Quelle. So I did not choose Quelle. Quelle was chosen for me. Jazz had selected her in Europe specifically for me, knowing that she would be a personal protection companion dog, my little sidekick. And so, that was a match made in heaven. So when I got Quelle, we've always had family dogs, but I'd never had a dog of my own. And so you can imagine that would be like giving the keys to a Ferrari to your 16-year-old who's never driven before. So it was a learning experience. Fortunately, Quelle was one that was very teachable, and she was very forgiving. Now, don't get me wrong. She turns 12 in February, so I've had her since she was 2. She had a lot of energy, a lot. But I was fortunate to live at the ranch. So she was with me all day, all night. So as I was doing my ranch chores or, whatever task I was doing at the ranch, she was with me. She was riding around on the golf cart. She was running. She was, we lived on 500 acres. So I could get that energy put out, so it wasn't like, I was working an office job and then coming home to a Belgian Malinois who had torn up my house because they had energy to burn. So I do feel that played a big role in being able to manage the breed, especially not having any prior experience or knowledge of them, which nobody at the ranch really did at the time. So, we got lucky. But Quelle is a freak. You can ask a lot of people. She is a 1 in a million type of dog. And she herself has opened up a lot of doors for me. And so when I was training with the law enforcement guys, even when I was still working at the ranch, it was just the bond that I had already developed with her. And just the trust that, because I was doing the same scenarios as a civilian that these police officers were doing with their canines as training. I was sending her towards a guy with a blank gun shooting at her, not real bullets, but, I'm sending her into the gunfight and, searching these dark buildings and, she's killing it. She's doing awesome. And I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. So it slowly got to the point where I was loving that more than, okay, I don't want to ride today. I'd rather go train the dogs, so it was like my horses were starting to kind of take the back seat to this. And I fell in love with it. I don't know how to describe it other than that, but it was like, once you find what sets your soul on fire, like that passion that just really, it just burns. It was like an eye-opening moment for me. So I fell in love with it. And I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to chase bad guys. I want to, do this. So,
So really weird question. If you hadn't gotten Quelle and you were still around all the dogs and Christy doing her thing, do you think you would have gone down this road? It sounds like she was like your ticket into the world. Yeah. And being such an amazing partner, she really, some dogs don't make it fun, right? They're good at it, but it's not really fun.
Right.
It's like horses. Some horses are really good at their job. They're not the most fun to ride. But do you think if you hadn't had Quelle, you would be doing what you're doing today?
Probably not. I would probably still be at the ranch or doing something like that. She was the path altering force. She was in the middle of my path and directed me this way. And, because she is the reason why I really started getting involved with Canines for Cops, because they started using her a lot more for the media. And so I'm her agent, I'm her chauffeur, I've got a driver everywhere. So they don't want me. It's still to this day, they don't request me. I'll get emails at work hey, is canine Quelle available for, this? They don't want me. They want the dog.
I
So
love
I
it.
just say that I'm her chauffeur and her agent, and, I drive her around, make sure, she looks good for her appearances, and, we go from, but yeah, I really feel if I had not gotten Quella, my life definitely would not be what it is today by any means. No, she was definitely the life-changing moment for sure. Because not only has she opened doors in law enforcement, but we were on the Steve Harvey show. She did a demonstration on the Steve Harvey show. We have been to Hollywood, California. We were on America's Top Dog. We competed on that. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that this dog has done. She had a viral video that had over 70 million combined views. So I mean, she's made it fun, and she made it to where I fell in love with doing this. And I was asked when I initially got hired on if I wanted to potentially use her on the street. And I said no, because she's like my kid. So I'm not going to, like that. I felt that role was not for her.
So you owe your career to a dog.
Yes. Absolutely. I absolutely. I credit. I mean, my life would not be what it is right now if it wasn't for her. I mean, there's no telling what I would be doing right now. I mean, probably still at Schiller Ranch doing, something horse related, which, I mean, yeah, that's great too. But yeah, I mean, just, no, the career that I have made from this, and the opportunities and the doors that have opened and presented themselves, I truly credit to her.
How long can a dog like Lemons, how long can they work? What's the lifespan of their work?
So it just depends on the individual dog. So I've had him since 2016. I got him in December 2016. So I've had him just at 7 years. So he's been on the street almost 7 years in May. He's 9 right now. He does turn 10 next year. He was diagnosed with mild arthritis in his shoulder this year. So it really just depends on the individual dog. 10 is about pushing it, because, you don't want to push these dogs into the ground. You want them to kind of live a healthy retirement life. But on the flip side too, work is all these dogs know. And that's what they live for. They love their job. I mean, you should see him when he knows that it's time to go to work. When I pick up his collar and I slip it on him, I mean, he is still to this day, he is dragging me to the door. And then I open the front door, and it's like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen that video that goes around, but it's like this lady walking a Great Dane, and she's just walking, and then the dog sees a squirrel and then takes off, and the lady's like, that is literally what it is every day when I take him to the car. He loves to go to work. And so it's, you want these dogs to work for as long as possible, just because that's what they love. But like I said, you don't want to work them into the ground. So I know that, there's a dog that I know that worked until he was 12. We actually have a single purpose explosive dog. She's a golden retriever at our department. She's 11, or she might be. Yeah, she's 11. She's just right behind Quella. She's still working. So it really just depends on the dog.
What does their retirement look like? When he retires, will he be with you? What happens?
Yes. Yeah. So we're fortunate. When our dogs do retire, we get to keep them. So with him, he's going to have to maintain basically the similar lifestyle that he has right now, just because, some of these dogs, when they do retire, like I said, they're not as dog aggressive as he is. They're not as, just aggressive in general. So they can go be couch potatoes. They can be loose in their house. They get along with, maybe the handler's other dogs, whatever. Unfortunately, he is not like that. So he's going to maintain a similar lifestyle to what he has now. He's got a 10 by 10 room in my house that he has this giant plush bed. That's his room. So when he's not in there, he's outside. Sometimes, so he's a little wild still. Like even in his age, I can let him through the house. So his room is at the very front door, like at the very front of the house. To get to the backyard, he has to pass the dining room, the kitchen, and the living room. Still to this day, he treats it as a jungle gym. He will launch on the couch. He jumps on the dining room or on the living room table. He thinks that it's just a jungle gym and he breaks stuff. He's so like big and fast and he still knocks stuff over. Like how my Christmas tree survived. I mean, I'm just thankful he never knocked that over. So he will get some time in the house, by himself. Like I'll put Quelle and Saba in another room and he can be out in the living room chilling with us on the couch. But again, he doesn't know how to chill. He doesn't know how to relax. I mean, it's, I'll give him a bone and he's chewing it and then he gets up and he goes and then he lays down for a second and then he gets up and he goes. And it's just like, he doesn't have an off switch. So his retirement will look a little different than say some of the other dogs. But he lives a great life,
Yeah.
So is Saba a retired a canine dog, or is Saba just Saba?
So when I lived at the ranch, we had 20 plus dogs on the ranch at any time. And so Quelle had so many friends to play with. Well, when I moved to Houston to go to the police academy, it was just me and her. And she's a very social dog. And so I was like, I need to get her a friend. And so Jazz, who is actually my best friend, she owns Houston Canine Academy. I had messaged her. Actually, no, I was at her kennel and I said, hey, I need to find Quelle a friend. She needs something to play with, especially while I'm going through the police academy. I'm gone 8 hours a day. She's not used to that, So I was like, I need to get her a friend to play with. And she's like, are you serious? I said, yes. She's like, I'll be right back. So she goes to the back of her kennel and brings Saba out. Saba is this little, he was not even 2 years old yet. And she brings him out and she's like, look, he's too soft. He's too nice to make a police dog. And the family, so he was actually purchased and brought over from Europe as to be a family protection dog, but the people backed out saying that they weren't ready yet for a dog. And so she had this dog who was not going to fit her program. He literally is just too nice. He's too nice. So she handed him to me and said, take him home. And so he really is, he's scared of his own shadow. But he is the best family dog. I mean, he's the sweetest soul that you could ever imagine. He loves Quelle. Quelle beats up on him all the time and he tolerates it and then he'll fight back and it's hilarious. So that is how I ended up with Saba. So that just goes to show you that not all Belgian Malinois and not all German Shepherds make police dogs, so because it's like we get messages all the time. Hey, I found this German Shepherd. Do you want it for a police dog? And it's like, they don't all make it.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, I guess you have the full spectrum. You have Le Mans and you have Saba, and they're polar opposites, right?
Polar opposite. If somebody were to break in my house, Saba would let them in the door and say, hey, you want me to show you where everything's at? If you'll just give me a treat, you can have whatever you want.
Funny.
That is Saba. Yeah.
How perfect for Quelle.
Yes. So my life is very interesting. I'm literally surrounded by a dog 24 hours a day. I spend more time with a dog than I do people.
So when you're in your squad car and are you talking to the dog all the time? Are you having a conversation with the dog?
Yeah, I mean,
be honest now. Be honest.
Sometimes. So I'm fortunate. So a lot of police dogs, when they're in the car, they go nuts. I mean, they are barking nonstop. They're spinning. I mean, they go nuts. Le Mans is not like that. He's never been like that. I'll look back. He's passed out. He's rolled over on his back with his feet in the air, passed out. And it's like, wake me up when you need me.
Not a bad job.
So that's when he does his relaxing time. He relaxes on the job.
Yes.
When he comes
he
home,
sleeps on the job. Yeah. He sleeps on the job all the time. And I'm like, if I did this, I'd get fired. So occasionally I'll look back and I'm like, hey, you ready to work? And he'll kind of like look over at me, and occasionally if it's been a while before he's gotten up, he'll get up. And a lot of times we have a sliding door behind us that basically we can shut to keep the dog in the kennel. It's just like a little sliding door. So a lot of times I'll have that open because he does like to come up and peek his head out. And so it's cute because if he hasn't, I take it as he hasn't checked in a while. So he'll get up, he'll pop his head out, he'll kind of lick me for a second, and then he'll go back and lay down. So, because even though we're in Houston, there are some nights where it's pretty slow, and we don't do anything, So we're thankful for those nights, because then the other times, we're balls to the wall nonstop. It's just call after call after call. So, we take those little breaks in the night. We're pretty grateful for him. So he definitely enjoys it because he is passed out.
Well, Madison,
awesome.
You do indeed have an interesting life, number one, and interesting work and home companions that this is just what we're all about here. So we really appreciate you spending some time with us. I know you got to go catch bad guys a little bit later in the day and everything. Robin, do you have anything to add before we get out of here today?
No, it's just been amazing, Madison. Thank you so much for sharing all these. And Quelle, we love you. And if anybody, since you're Quelle's agent, if people want to follow her, how do they find her?
So she does have an Instagram page where I post a lot of her pictures, and it's under K9 Quelle, which is K, the number 9, Quelle. Canine Quelle. So I post some of her fun stuff, and I'll post Lamont on there and Saba. So it's just it's a whole Instagram dedicated to them, and you can kind of keep up with some of our crazy adventures. And we're not as fun as some people. Some of these accounts have like millions of followers, but I don't have time for that. So I post occasionally.
Hey, we love it.
Yeah. So
well, we just appreciate your time and all of your partners' time. And we appreciate all you do to help keep people safe as well. You're providing fun, but you're doing a really serious job that is, amazing. And your partners are incredible. Just the thought of having a dog as your partner is really pretty special. So thank you. Thank you for that, for sure.
Yeah.
So if you're watching on YouTube or listening, go check out Canine Quelle's page. It's really cool on Instagram. I definitely follow it. And if you ever want to see the coolest poses, this dog, all the dogs, they pose for holiday shots or any shots better than any dogs I've ever seen. Like, you don't even know they're real. They look like statues among the presents or statues among whatever, Halloween costumes. It's so cool. So you have to check it out. And
Thank y'all so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank y'all I know I've had to cancel on you guys twice. Work got in the way on one of them, and actually on both of them. So I really appreciate y'all's flexibility. So,
well, we appreciate you being here. Thanks, Robin. And ladies and gentlemen, just be good, because Madison is out there with a dog looking for you if you haven't been so good. She's worse than the bad elf that Santa Claus carries around. So just be good, all right? And we'll see you next week for another episode of A View from the Summit. See you then.
Bye.
Bye. Thank y'all so much. That was fun.
This program is made possible by Summit Animal Health. If you have a dog, cat, or horse with mobility issues, Summit Animal Health has the all-natural, drug-free solution that comes with a satisfaction guarantee. Summit Animal Health products are used by Olympic gold medal equestrians, leading rodeo stars, professional dog trainers and handlers, and people just like you. Whether working companion or couch potato, Summit Animal Health can keep them moving. Check them out online at summitanimals.com. New to Summit? Use the code VIEW15 and receive 15% off your initial order. We'll see you next week for another View from the Summit.